Underestimated my following, gave our dollars to the pre-order column. So what the problem is? Say you was dropping it, and then turn around, did the opposite. Line in your pockets, you got a lot of nerve to be opting this. I guess I bit off more than I can chew. Let's not excuse my tardiness. I like to apologize to my audience. Not like I've been partying, promise not being fraudulent. I've been in homestead like a privatizing Rothbardian. Part of a parliament, that's a problem. I plan on abolishing, cause a raucous. I'll best the friggin' product you all are in. And all that talking, I ain't buying what you offering. You bout as intimidating and soft as what your daughter is. You been a faking, yet you still hating. You can't knock me cause I've been through Olympic trials of tribulations. Been on this grind and walked many miles to get this cake, and now I'm going ape like I'm a Saiyan. Quit playing with me, cause I'm a lot to deal with. I don't acknowledge you because you too retarded to understand my skill set. So when I kick this knowledge, it's gonna fly over your heel head. So polish up your mind real fast so I don't feel bad. I went from being broke to being hopeful. From standing on the post to going postal. I'm supposed to be on the poster competition's toast because I'm vocal. A bar for you like I'm Oprah. You should probably get off the sofa or the soapbox. Going at me, I hope not. You attacking with no plot cause you act like a robot. You move when you told to move. You a puppet with a master, I'm the antithesis. That's why I'm opposed to you. I'm the whack rapper, back snapper. Used to be a gat capper, now I'm spitting raps from the Adam's apple. Better back paddle before you get the best at them. That battle's not one you won't back at them. Average guys asking me how I smash these beats. If I told you, I'd have to fold you. That's classified. Don't like to brag, but I had to boast. It's a fad of mine, so please don't be sad when the opinions paired with that in mind. I think it's asinine that people whine like a buster because they life don't measure up to another sucker. What type of life might tell Tucker I don't support you? Tactics the way that you battle and they gon' cut the mustard. You seem like you a teen wife, not prepared for this mean life, not even aware you just see a green light. I think you mean right, but you look at me like an alien in the night. If I'm the A, then you the Z type. The proto, it's me, bro. You can try to dress it up when I'm in street clothes, I still peak so. Probably one of the few lies I ever told. That's because I don't peak, I just grow.
No threat to a Hotep, especially when the Hotep got the goddess mask off. He's working his ass off, trying to tell y'all goofy dudes what they planning. It's Hotep, Hotep. Hope you motherfuckers understand. It's Hotep, Hotep. Hope you motherfuckers understand. No threat to a Hotep, especially when the Hotep got the goddess mask off. He's working his ass off, trying to tell y'all goofy dudes what they planning. It's Hotep, Hotep. Hope you motherfuckers understand. It's Hotep, Hotep. Hope you motherfuckers understand.
Drug seized include heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and assorted pills. Police also found drug paraphernalia. The bust netted 3 handguns, 2 rifles, and 2 sawed-off shotguns. Police estimate this drug operation took in about $2,000 a day, or $750,000 a year. Those arrested face a variety of charges, including drug possession, conspiracy to distribute drugs, and weapons violations. More arrests are expected. City police are still searching for at least a half dozen more suspects.
Hey yo, happy Wednesday. Ken and Hotep back at it again. Appreciate y'all. I'm sorry I'm late. Supposed to start at 8:30, but you know, life. I'm happy y'all can join me. I appreciate it. We got a couple of things I want to get into tonight, straight up. One thing we're gonna get into this, you know, the talk of the town, the talk of the news. You know, it ain't Ukraine right now. It's the Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson's hearings. We're going to get into that. And we're going to touch back on Leah Thomas. Leah Thomas apparently is hanging up her swing, her Speedos. His Speedos, whatever you want to say. Their Speedos. You know, I appreciate it. Just give me 1 second. anyways, anybody got any plans coming up for the weekend? I know, Thursday coming up, then, like the weekend is upon us already. I just want to see if anybody got any plans this weekend. I don't really have much going on. I'm hoping for a nice weekend, to be honest with you. I would love some really nice weather. I could really use some really nice weather right now. Today was a cold, rainy day with some wind going on. It was crazy. I'll tell you that much. It was crazy. Anyway, trying to find my music. I don't know where it went. I mean, it's all good. We're going to do this right here. There we go. You know how we do. Tonight's stream is brought to you by, go ahead and do this real quick, Mechanic TP9 SF Elite. Yes, SF Elite. See that? Let's see if we can't turn the light up a little bit on it. There we go. Brought to you by Mechanic TP9 SF Elite. Amazing gun. This is meant to be a race gun from Canic. It's an amazing gun. It's meant to compete with the Glock 34 essentially. I don't know what to say, but it's a shooter. This thing is a shooter. It's fast, it's accurate. It's got, I believe it's a 5.5-inch barrel on it. Listen to this trigger. For you guys, nothing in it. Nothing in the gun. For the gun that's coming after me. Listen to this trigger. So first off, that's the take up right there, right? Look, listen to this. Look at this. Watch this. Watch the reset on this. Right there. Look at this. That's crazy. Reset. Watch the reset. Short reset. Nice crisp break. It's chambered in 9mm. It comes with 2 20-round magazines. So 18 rounds plus 2-round base plate, 2-round extension. Like I said, because I don't do any 3-gun and stuff like that, so I keep a light on all my handguns. So I'm running the TLR Streamlight TLR1 on this gun. Looks badass. Kind of reminds me of the RoboCop gun, just a little bit. You know what I mean? So anyway, the Canic TP9 SFX Elite. If you're tired of Glock and you want a shooter with a great trigger out the box, go with the Canic. They got an assortment of guns. The triggers are amazing and the price point is phenomenal. You can get a standard probably TP9 for like, I don't know, probably less than $500 right now. Probably less than $500. I know they have the 1 series. The 1 series goes for like, if you can find one, the 1 series goes for like $350 or something like that. So like I said, the TP9 SFX Elite, that's the one I just showed you guys. An amazing gun, straight up a shooter. If you ain't got one, get you one. Here we go. Sorry, it's getting a little warmer here. Also, we're gonna have some about to have some merch coming out, so I'm gonna show you some of the prototypes, and hopefully by next week we'll have it where we start producing them, and you guys I'll start taking orders. So let me show you. So first off, you know my saying, I trust Miss Frizzle more than I trust Fauci. So we got our Frizzle, we got our Frizzle over Fauci shirts. We got our Frizzle over Fauci shirts coming. And there we go. Our Stay Blessed, Stay Strapped shirts are coming out. So be on the lookout for that. Probably start doing something with that next week where I start taking orders. And hopefully you guys will partake. I appreciate it. Give me one more second. Anybody catch HJ's live stream of the confirmation hearings? You know, anybody catch those? You know, I was trying to listen as much as I could while I was driving. You know what I mean? But kind of hard when I'm jumping in and out of the truck. But she was getting some softballs thrown at her, man. I mean, they were throwing some serious softballs at her. That was, you know, the Republicans to their, you know, to their what's the word? Oh, here we go. That's the problem right here. The Republicans, to their credit, they were trying to hold her feet to the fire. But, you know, I don't know how much that's gonna help. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like she's gonna get the nod, in my opinion. I don't know. You know what I mean? We'll see though. We'll definitely see. There we go. That's more like it right there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my YouTube, man. It's been acting a fool. Try this one more time. There we go. All right. There we go. I appreciate y'all bearing with me on this. Let's go over to the chat. Hotep Oz, what's the deal? What's the deal? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Emmanuel Presley, yeah, y'all in here. We got Kid Gravity in the building. Salute, salute. Who else we got in here? We got Miss Banky. What's going on? Doing some hair this weekend. I have a ladies day. I hear you on that. I hear you on that. We got Maticus Machinist in here. Found a long version of Behold a Pale Horse on YouTube and listening. Scary accurate. Recommended. Yeah, man. That sound 11 hours. That sound about right. That sound about right. Because I think some of the books that I seen was like 6 hours. I'm like, yo, cut some chapters out. James, what's the deal? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Bruce G, love my Springfield Elite 4.5 has great trigger. I hear that. I hear that. A couple of my friends got those. They said they love them. Hotep Oz, I got my Canic Elite for $440, including tax. See, I told you that they great guns for the price, man. They give Glock a run for their money. Washington, you seen a PSA Dagger Glock 19 clone 350? I think. Yeah, that thing. It's solid, but it's sold out. Good luck trying to get one of them joints. I tried. You know what I mean? What we got here? Cladomar. They say only Manchin can help, but Republicans like Sass could save her. That's true. That is true. I agree. I agree. Cause he was kissing her ass, wasn't he? Jeez. You know what I mean? He was kissing her ass. Also, we're live on Rumble, so you know if you don't want to watch on Rumble, you know I do go live on on YouTube. I do go live on Rumble. Just to give you guys a heads up on that. Also new to the show, we're gonna go live. What in the world? Hold up. We're gonna go live on Rumble every Monday and Wednesday. And we got a call-in show today, guys. So in the description below, the number's posted. I'll let you know when we're gonna go to that segment of the show, the portion of the show. But we will be going live, and I'm sorry, we will be having live calls. So anyway, let's get to it. Let's get to it. So Ketanji Brown Jackson, she is Joe Biden's pick for Supreme Court nominee. We all know, we all heard him. He said that he was going to pick a black woman for the Supreme Court. And a lot of us just heard, damn, like, what about like, what about like substance? You know what I mean? What about qualifications? Will she be able to qualify? But because based on his presidential or his vice presidential pick, and Kamala Harris, his track record ain't doing too well. So we got Ketanji Brown Jackson as his pick for the Supreme Court seat, the vacant Supreme Court seat. But I was talking to Legal Mindset on his show. Salute to Andrew Esquire. I was talking to Legal Mindset on his show. When I was on this show, he said she is one of the most overturned judges in the DC District Court. Almost everything that that came her way regarding Trump, she shot down. Which kind of could play to I guess her views could be kind of slanted. You know what I mean? But that's what they want on the Supreme Court, right? The judges are supposed to be fair and impartial and all this other shit, but everybody has a bias, right? But I guess what we need to look at is how slanted she is. Can she be impartial? She got a good poker face up there, but I don't know if she can be impartial. You know what I mean? So the big things about it that is a red flag for me when I heard it was her stance on sentencing when it came to pedophiles and child pornography and all that other stuff, right? So we're gonna go over here to this Ted Cruz grilled her, you know what I mean? Hawley grilled her too, and we'll get to that. But Ted Cruz completely grilled her. He had poster boards and shit like he was giving a college dissertation. But he came for it, you feel me? He came for now it was to be expected that the Democrats are going to be really lenient on her. You know what I mean? It was to be expected. So it couldn't really, really expect too much from the Democrats. You know what I mean? So let's go over here to this real quick.
That the White House has argued that your quotes were taken out of context. So I want to provide the full context of your quotes, because you said, yes, I want to ask you about the means by which we can distinguish more or less serious offenders. I know that all of you sort of touched on that. Mr. Futrell, you talked about going from singular to one-on-one to group experience. I'm just wondering if there's some sort of inevitable and natural progression from one stage to the other, such that you could say that the least serious offenders are in the singular experience stage. I guess my thought is, in looking at some of the testimony that other people will have later in the day, I was surprised at some of the testimony with respect to the motivation of offenders, and we're talking about child pornography offenders, and that there are people who get involved with this kind of activity who may not be pedophiles and who may not be necessarily interested really in the child pornography, but have other motivations with respect to the use of technology and being in the group. And here are lots of reasons perhaps why people might engage in this. And so I'm wondering whether you could say that there could be a less serious child pornography offender who is engaging in the type of conduct in the group experience level because their motivation is the challenge or to use the technology. They're very sophisticated technologically, but they aren't necessarily that interested in the child pornography piece of it.
So if you got, in my opinion, if you got child pornography, you're fucking interested in child pornography. You feel me? So this whole question that she's asking, whoever she's asking, right? It's an odd question. It's almost like I'm asking for a friend type shit, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like whether they're in some group or whatever, singular, but like if you got that shit on your computer and you're watching it, you know what I mean? In my opinion, either A, you're thinking about doing that shit, or B, you're already fucking doing it. I don't think there's any in between there. It's either A, you're already doing it, or B, you're about to. You know what I mean? So let's keep it moving.
Now I find that a pretty remarkable argument that people in possession of child pornography are not actually interested in the child porn. They're not pedophiles. They're just interested in technology. Is that, and I wanted to provide the whole quote because the White House said that portions of this were used out of context, so this is your entire quote. Do you agree with that sentiment, that there is some meaningful population of people who have child pornography but are not, in fact, pedophiles or getting satisfaction from it?
Thank you, Senator, for allowing me to address what appears to be a question that I was asking in the context of a hearing on child pornography. You've provided the entire quote, and it looks as though I was asking that of someone, not taking that position. And the position that I've taken in all of my sentencings involving child pornography offenders is to ensure that despite the attitude and view of many of the offenders who came before me when I was a trial judge, that they were just lookers, that they weren't really harming anyone, that they were curating their collections and they never touched a child, I made sure that they understood that notwithstanding their collecting behavior, that they were causing significant harm.
So Judge Jackson, all right, you raise your actual sentencing, and I think that's very productive. Let's take a look at your actual sentencing. And you've had 10 different cases.
So she gives him a good talking to or a scolding, but she doesn't give him any, any substantial time for doing what the fuck they did. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand that. Like, why, in my opinion, the issue with this is that, like HJ said earlier, like, if you got that type of shit on your computer or you fucking touching kids, you need to have a book thrown at you. If not, your lights turned out. Period. Full stop. I don't think there's any nuance there. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any nuance there in any lead way. You catch a person with this shit on their computer and they're watching it and all this other stuff or whatever, they're guilty, period. I don't think there's any room for that. And it seems like that's what she's trying to say is that, well, depending on the degree of what they got on their computer and the degree of what they're touching kids or whatever it is, you know what I mean? That's how she's sentenced. It's like, this shit is fucking disgusting. And, we got to protect children, You got to throw the book at these people. Not give them these lenient sentences that's less than the recommended minimum. Less than the recommended minimum. Washington, say what you will about Trump, he would have picked a better judge. Hey, after watching Brett Kavanaugh and ABC and ACB getting installed, I feel like this lady is going in. How does this change the composition of the Supreme Court with regards to going forward? That's a good question. That's a real good question. I don't know. Man, that's a good one. Who knows? Kid Gravity. The final question will be, can we touch your hair? That's hilarious. I don't know why this thing's acting up. Anyway, let's keep it moving.
Cases involving child pornography. These are the cases. There are two, U.S. versus Buttry and U.S. versus Cam, for which the government did not make a recommendation. And you said earlier when Chairman Durbin was trying to preempt this line of attack, you said it's a sickening and egregious crime, which I very much agree with. And you said the guidelines lead to extreme departures. Okay. Let's look at what the prosecutors are asking for. And I would note that this was in the District of Columbia, where prosecutors are far more liberal than many of the prosecutors in this country. And in every case in which, so United States versus Hess, there was a mandatory statutory minimum of 60 months, and you imposed 60 months because you had no discretion. In United States versus Nickerson, there was a mutual agreement of the parties to 120 months, and that's what you imposed. In every other case, United States versus Chazen, the prosecutor asked for 78 to 97 months. You imposed 28 months. 28 months is a 64% reduction. In United States versus Cooper, the prosecutor asked for 72 months. You imposed 60 months. That was a 17% reduction. In United States versus Downs, the prosecutor asked for 70 months. You imposed 60. That was a 14% reduction. In United States versus Hawkins, the prosecutor asked for 24 months. You imposed 3 months. That was an 88% reduction. In United States versus Savage, the prosecutor asked for 49 months. You imposed 37. That was a 24%.
Y'all get the point, right? So she's super lenient on, you know, when it comes to like pedos and shit like that. Which to me is, it's like, come on, like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it's her discretion, she's the judge, but it's like, you know, apparently she got kids. You know what I mean? And when it comes to your kids, man, like, you gotta, you know, you gotta protect these children. They say it all the time. We gotta protect our children. We gotta protect our children. We gotta protect our children. But you're not, you know, it's almost like she's protecting these people. You know what I mean? She's protecting them, especially that United States versus Hawkins, right? The United States versus Hawkins, I think that's the one where the dude had almost 600 pictures and videos of children. You know what I mean? And she gave this man 3 months. You know what I mean? That's just, you know, that's sad. It's ridiculous, man. You know, oh, had a little technical. Let me see. There we go. Had a little technical difficulty just now, you know, but we back. Anyway, what was I doing? What was I going? I was about to answer. There we go. Let me see. Manuel Presley. I honestly think it's a losing argument. Both sides are awful on ped stuff. Hey, I agree. Maticus, next question is, if Clarence Thomas bites the dust and eventually and Biden gets another one, what is the balance of power regarding the Dems versus Republicans? I don't know, especially if they get that, they know how they want to pack the court. They keep saying they want to pack the court. If they get the chance to pack the court and Biden gets another shot, it might be a losing battle for the Republicans. You know what I mean? Prince Revolver, what's the deal? Welcome. You know, that's the scary shit, you know. But if you're new, hit that like, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification icon. It'll let you know when I got new content coming out. Please share this video out to everyone. Please share this out to everybody. Let me beat this algorithm. Prince Revolver, why do you think she's so lenient? I don't know what's going on in her head. You know what I mean? I don't know if she has sympathy for people like that. You know, I hope she wouldn't have sympathy for anybody like that. I mean, I wouldn't, you know. But honestly, I mean, my honest opinion, bro, I don't know. I don't know what it could be. You know, I don't know. Maybe somebody in her family do this shit and she feel like, I have no clue, man. You know, your guess is as good as mine, for real. You know, I think we might get Judge come on. I hope not, yo. I hope not. We in trouble if that happened. Wasted talent in the building. What up, Jonesy? What's the deal, bro? What's the deal? Happy you in here.
Pairing.
Wasted talent, go Eagles. Yo, man, you trolling already, yo. Exactly. Shout it out on Twitter and Instagram. Let them know we live. You know what I mean? Emmanuel Presley, you know how much money is in trafficking? These judges are bought. If you think SCOTUS isn't bought, then you haven't been listening to the Hoteps. I hear that. But I couldn't attribute a motive to why she may be like that. But, you know, that shit is crazy though. Feel me? And she couldn't give a justifiable reason, because even Hawley asked her like, yo, what's the deal? Why? She couldn't give him a straight answer on why she was so lenient. She just kept trying to refer to the law, but then, you know, in sentencing guidelines, right? So that's when Ted Cruz was like, oh, you want to talk sentencing guidelines? Let's look at your sentencing compared to the guidelines. And that's what we were just looking at. Like, look at this. You know what I mean? Like, that's her record right there when it comes to this shit. You feel me? Sentencing guidelines, she don't like she followed them. You know, and like I said, in my opinion, you got pictures of kids and shit, and you touching kids, you get the book thrown at you. If not, get them lights turned out. You know what I mean? Just saying. DeMars, what's the deal? You in here? What's going on? Kamala would be a horrible judge, but I love to watch her answer questions by Congress and see her fumble every answer. That would probably make for good TV, for real. That would probably make for good TV. Anyway, so another crazy thing, right? Which kind of let us know that she's like maybe radical left or kind of, I guess we'll say, on the same spectrum with Kamala and those people, you know, is when Marsha Blackburn asked her to give her a definition of a woman, and she couldn't do it. Check this shit out.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So
I'm
you
not a
believe the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the
All right.
law and I decide. So I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about. Answer.
So, Marsha Blackburn says, just define the woman. Define the woman. She asked her if her definition of a woman is what Ginsburg said, right? And she couldn't answer that. Then she said, okay, well then define a woman. And she still wouldn't answer that question. You feel me? That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. That's how you know, either A, she just trying to play, she playing politics, or B, she's far left. You know what I mean? Like, people, on his face, on the surface, right? It may seem like a benign question, but when you dig deep down into it and you see the way shit is going, where we got CRT coming up, we got drag queen story time, you know what I mean? We got, Leah Thomas with the swimming, and you got the Olympic weightlifter that competed against the women in the Olympics. You know what I mean? You got these things happening. You got these precedents being set. More conservative people are more like, hey, yo, what the little boy say on Kindergarten Cop? Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. You know what I mean? No, people are afraid to say that shit. You know what I mean? Like, she won't answer the question because either A, she don't want to, she don't want to expose herself. She don't expose either A, I believe that a woman is, has breast and a vagina and bleeds every month and can reproduce babies, shit like that. You know what I mean? She don't want to say that. Or she think, like everybody else, think that the shit is a social construct and there's gender fluidity and all this other bullshit. Her not answering that question is very alarming, to say the least. Simply because, like she said, it's so simple. It's so simple. What is it? What is your definition? That's all you have to do is say it. But she refused to say it, I don't know if she identifies as a woman or what, you know, but she refused to say it. And I think that when it comes to rulings, you know, it's important, especially, you know, let's just say, I don't know, they rule on, I don't fucking know, I guess transgenders, I don't know, fill in the blank. You know what I mean? Where's she going to go with it? That's important. You know, so like I said, on its face, maybe the question seemed a bit benign, but I think when you dig deeper into it and you look deeper into it, that's actually a really good question. And I think that her not answering the question kind of, in my opinion, showed her true colors, but we don't know where she stands on the spectrum. She's trying to be as vague as possible, but she wants this nomination, you know. Emmanuel Presley, 2022, you need a degree to define a woman. Maticus, man, these memes over this is crazy. Prince Revolver, my first reaction when she said, and I literally said, what the F? Maticus, people be like, do you know how fast you was going? Right. Right, exactly. You know what I mean? But yeah, she was like, no, I'm not a biologist or whatever she said. Like really, lady? I'm not a biologist. That also tells you where she stands. It's like, no, I'm not a biologist. You know, it's ridiculous, man. You know, right. Yeah, I'm not a mechanic. You know, can you tell me what a flat tire is? Or can you tell me what an engine is? No, I can't. I'm not a mechanic. You know what I mean? Can you tell me what the steering wheel is? No, I can't. I'm not a mechanic. You know. Prince Revolver, she is most qualified. In all honesty, I don't know. Hey, we all don't know. You know what I mean? It's going to get, I don't know. It's going to get real spicy, man. I don't know what's going to go with this lady. You know, me, y'all know what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the Second Amendment and where she stands on it. But she's also vague about that. So check this out. From the Trace, Ketanji Brown Jackson's commitment to precedent on the Second Amendment, right? Judge Jackson on crime and guns. The Supreme Court nominee judicial record on firearms is scant. In her brief time on the D.C. Court of Appeal, she hasn't issued a ruling on gun rights. But during her second day of confirmation hearings, Jackson reaffirmed her view on Second Amendment precedent and fleshed out her perspective on public safety issues. So this is all I'm worried about right here. It's the Second Amendment. Do you believe in individual rights to keep and bear arms is a fundamental right? Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa asked the nominee senator. She responded, the Supreme Court has established that the individual right to keep and bear arms is a fundamental right. Her answer echoes a written response she gave during her confirmation hearing last year for the D.C. Court of Appeals. Okay, so check it, right? It still doesn't answer my question, though, right? Okay, it's a fundamental right, but does she believe that I only have the right to carry this? Do I only have the right to this bolt action hunting rifle? Right? But do I have a right for this? You know what I mean? To what degree do I have the right to keep and bear arms? You know what I mean? Did she say we have the right to keep and bear arms, but AR-15s got to go? Quote unquote assault rifles got to go? You know, that's the question that we need to know. You know what I mean? They need to press her on that. You know, they should have been pressed her on that, but I don't know. You know, Because that question could be vague as hell. Yeah, you have the right to keep and bear arms. But, you know, not the AR-15, you know, not the MP5, you know, not the Chris Vector. You know what I mean? No gun that holds more than 10 rounds. You know what I mean? That's going to be interesting. Manuel Presley, I've seen so many people on Facebook capping for this trans community. All have Ukrainian flags. All have BLM frames. And I voted stickers. I'm lifting weights for the gulags. Demar's Burton. Congress should bring in the victims of her sentencing and tell the world how they felt on her judgment. Just like they did Kavanaugh. Facts, facts, facts. So check it. I'm interested to hear what you guys got to say. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. So we're going to open up the calls. Give me a second. I'm going to be on my... Oh, shit. Hold on. What happened? There we go. Sorry about that, people. I'm interested to see what y'all about to say. So I'm about to be on my Uncle Hotep Griff. We're going to open up the call lines. Give me 1 second. Let me get that set up. All right, so phone number is 443-272-5667. Again, 443-272-5667. I'll take your calls. It's also in the description in the video. So I'm interested to hear what you guys got to say. Hopefully it worked. I tested it out the day earlier. We'll see if you guys can get through. If you want to call in, call in. Let me see. But yeah, so I don't know. You know, she seemed like, you know, she's trying to make herself seem as impartial as possible. And, you know, now with Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, you know, Democrats was gloves off. You feel me? It was worse than gloves off. They had glass in their wraps. You know what I mean? You know, but it seems like, you know, like I said, you know, the Republicans, they trying to play it down the middle. We're trying to make it seem like we're not. And I think that's what ultimately get her confirmed. They're not going to want to seem racist. You know what I mean? Lucas Storm, what's the deal? Welcome, welcome, welcome. You know, they're not going to want to seem racist. You know what I mean? There we go. And that's the thing about it for me. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see how it happens. First of all, but if I come on, I might get your video taken down. Yeah, if you call in, y'all, you know, keep it PG-13, please. Keep it PG-13. You know, I like to keep my channel. You know, I already got one strike as it is. You know what I mean? So, just, you know. But if you want to call in, the line is open. So. What we got going on here? All right, we got the first call. What's going on, 202?
Yo, what up, Cannon?
What's the deal?
It's Emmanuel Presley. How you doing?
What's up, Emmanuel, man? Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me good. I'm in the car.
Now you coming through loud and clear, bro.
Oh, what's up? What's up? Yeah, I just called you to say what's up to you. I'm actually, you know what has me going crazy right now?
What's that?
Is these sanctions on China. I think that's going to go crazy.
Oh, we already know that. You know they're not gonna take that shit sitting down.
I mean, we get what 80% of our goods from China.
Yeah.
Like that's, this is playing with fire in a liquor store. Like this could just blow up all in my face.
You're right, man. Because like when you think about it, and what they own, how much they own almost all of our debt, right? You know,
they own all of our debt and they own a lot of our real estate.
Exactly.
So like the real estate market is already crazy. we saw what happened when COVID first started. All of our medical goods were coming from China. That's like the Supreme Court that's worrying, but this like I'm worried about China and Russia right now.
Yeah, and it almost seemed like this Supreme Court nominee hearing is almost a distraction.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be a liberal. It's going to be somebody, you know, that's replacing liberal. So at the end of the day, they already have the same numbers.
That's true. That is true.
But these embargoes and these food shortages, that's worrying. I feel like the summer is going to be a lot worse than the winter was.
Yeah, I already can't get a good graphics card for my computer, yo. I got to deal with this bullshit I got. You know what I mean? I was trying to stream.
Man, and those Xboxes and PS5s are going to be in high demand. They're going to be going for $2K.
Exactly. I ain't even get my damn PS5 yet. I'm going to have to stick it out
and
with the
those
PS4.
Cards they want you to switch to,
huh?
You ain't going to be able to get them either.
Yeah, I already got me a Switch, though. You know, that's under the guise I got kids, you know.
That's the electric cars they trying to push on everybody.
Oh, yeah. Man, listen. Yeah, because what was it? We got our computer chip shortage and all this other stuff, you know. And I'm just like, and you know where they outsourced it at, because he claimed that early, you know. Oh, the computer chip shortage, we're going to outsource it to our friends and allies. Like, oh, you know who that friend and ally is. You know what I mean?
And then Russia's talking about not shipping, you know, fertilizer, so crops are going to be short this year. It's just going to be this is only like, what, a year and a half of Biden? I can't do 4 years.
I don't think we're going to get 4 years, yo. I really don't. I think they're going to try to, I don't know, maybe they're going to try and get him out of the paint soon. I think that's just my opinion. But yeah, you even got Russia right now talking about, yo, we ain't going to cut your supply off, but what we're going to do is, if you're going to buy from us, you got to buy in rubles. Like, you want to sanction us? All right,
my mom was like, me and my mom was talking, I told her it was a year and a half of Biden. She said it felt like 8.
I know, right? He aging us like dogs, yo. Like, each year, 7 years, yo. You know. But like, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, like right now they trying to everybody say, oh look, see the gas prices are going down. I said that's for right now until he deplete out the reserve we got. Once that reserve,
they went down from $5 to $4.85.
Right,
like,
right. They think it's a
relief.
Right, yeah, they think it's relief. I'm like, okay, y'all be happy with that until and then when the reserves deplete, watch how it just runs twice as high. And now, like I said, Putin talking about some you're going to buy.
Meanwhile, a slab of ribs is $28 when it was $14 last year.
Yeah, don't even get me on that, y'all. I bought a slab of ribs on Sunday to cook. Y'all was hurt. I'm like, yo, what? You right though.
Yeah, I was like, this would be a whole pig back in the day.
Right.
The slab of ribs is, and I didn't even talk about wings and chicken. Like a grocery store trip don't start with less than $60.
Right, exactly. I mean, when I go to the market, I got a bunch of enough, and I got some juice, and I got some ribs, and like a little bag of burgers. This shit costs me $60.
You get one bag of groceries, it'd be $65,
yeah.
And you don't know what you got.
Right, you know what I mean? And
I'm not gonna hold you up, Kim. I'm gonna get off here.
Ain't no biggie. I appreciate you calling.
All right, man.
All right, bro. Hotep and build. Emmanuel Presley, everybody. Lucas Storm, Republicans on their Michelle Obama tip. They go low, we go high. Kayak Dog, Governor of Washington State just signed a bill signing the law, bill prohibiting the sale, importation, and distribution and manufacture of firearm magazines that hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Is that right? Huh. So importation mean from, I guess, other states, you know, like here in Maryland, we can't buy it here, but we can have it. You know what I mean? That's crazy. You know, that's, you know, it just, I don't know. That's such an arbitrary law, right? Because what does that help? How does that help anything? You know, it doesn't. Remember the Virginia Tech shooter? You know, he had 2 handguns. Magazines with 10 rounds each. I mean, if you get good at reloading, I mean, how does that make a difference? But, you know, I digress. You know. Prince Revolver. Be honest, I'm asking, did we actually sanction ourselves? I think we did, y'all. We backed ourselves into a corner. Like, you can't, like, first off, we know sanctions wasn't going to do anything in the first place because we still see Russia still marching on, right? Two, how you going to sanction a country that you really need right now? We buy 10% of our oil from Russia. They keep saying we can easily make it up. Can we? I mean, we could if we started drilling here, on our own land. But they try to make deals with Iran and Saudi Arabia, and they don't want no parts of us. You feel me? China don't respect you. You tried to tell China what your plan was to stop Russia, and China went and told Russia. Nobody has respect for this president. Nobody has respect for old Joe Nicholslick. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. I don't know why people, they put so much faith into him. It's like, no, like this dude is just he's a joke. He's a joke. And that's what the rest of the country, the rest of the world looks at him as, is a joke, a bumbling buffoon. Like, I gotta find it one day. We're gonna watch it. Robin Williams did a skit, not a skit, but he did a stand-up, and he was talking about Joe Biden, calling rambling Joe Biden. You know what I mean? He said people, Tourette's, look at him like, what? You know what I mean? But that's what, Matic is more fracking in the U.S. going to export oil. That's what I'm saying. Like, they said Texas got enough oil to last everybody here in America for 50 years. You know what I mean? If you really want these sanctions to work, or you really want to stick it to Russia and China, stop being so dependent on Russia and China. You know what I mean? As soon as he get in office, he reverses all of Donnie T's progress. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, now we in the shit. Potential World War III looming, and we so dependent on the two countries that's kind of buddying up that we don't know what we gonna do. You got rumors of the dollar going to collapse soon, and this and that. It's a scary thought. Like Emmanuel said, this Supreme Court nomination, it could just be bread and circus because some other shit going on. You know what I mean? But I digress. But speaking on defining a woman, right? It's from the New York Post. Ron DeSantis says Florida native beat transgender swimmer Leah Thomas at NCAA championships. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis issued a proclamation on Tuesday that declared the runner-up the rightful winner of the 500-yard freestyle competition instead of transgender NCAA champion Leah Thomas. Boy, does Ron DeSantis know how to grift, boy. He grifting hard. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? The Republican governor named University of Virginia freshman Emma Wayant as a champion as she was defeated by Thomas in the NCAA swimming championship Thursday by 1.75 seconds. By allowing men to compete in women's sports, the NCAA is destroying opportunities for women. Facts. Making a mockery of its champions and perpetuating a fraud. DeSantis wrote on Twitter. In Florida, we reject these lies and recognize Sarasota's Emma Wayant as the best women's swimmer in the 500 freestyle. The proclamation states that Wayant is the rightful winner and congratulates her on the significant achievement. So I guess this is the freshman Emma. And there's Aquaman. And she almost as tall as he is. It's crazy. She looks so distraught right here. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's crazy. DeSantis spoke out against Thomas at an unrelated news conference in Wesley Chapel, the Miami Herald reported. You don't need to read that. But that's crazy, right? I mean, he got a point. I think DeSantis got a point. Some people he triggered some people, right? DeSantis triggered some people when he made that. That was some good grifting on DeSantis' part. I gotta agree. I gotta give it to him. You know what I mean? That was some good grifting. But, you know, he's right. Those girls work hard, man. You know, waking up early in the morning, swimming, you know, school, swimming, you know, for years and years and years, you know. They want to make it to that, you know, the NCAA championships and win. And to have it just swept from under your feet, you know, by, you know, a biological male. It's gotta hurt. It's gotta sting. You know what I mean? You know, it's not fair. It's definitely not fair. You know, but the thing is, you got so many people capping for Leah Thomas that they fail to see that. You got a lot of women capping for Leah Thomas. And I'm like, are you serious? You know, you want women's rights, women's rights, women's rights. You march and you want women's equality, right? Only to have it, you know, women's equality taken away from you by imposters. You know what I mean? They're going, you know, sooner or later, women going to be an endangered species. They're going to go by the wayside soon. You know what I mean? It's sad. Emmanuel Presley, DeSantis about to have the White House grift. Yeah, it's true. It's true. That'd be interesting to see if him and Donnie T on the debate stage. White man gave women rights, then became women to take them. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. CC, way to go, Leah. It takes balls to accomplish what you've done. Oh man. Kayak dog. Heard that Leah identifies as a lesbian. Is that true? Wow. That'd be crazy if that's the case. Honestly, I only seen white men capping for Leah on my Book of Face. No, I seen some women, yo. Not on Facebook, but like, you know, I seen, you know, Twitter's just it's just a bunch of savages on Twitter. But you got, you know, a lot of them capping for her, you know. But at the same time, these girls worked hard, you know, just like, you remember the two high school boys that beat those girls in the was it the 100 meter? You know what I mean? That wasn't fair. You know, they was first and second. Them girls was a distant third, fourth, and fifth. You know, it's like you gotta acknowledge that. Like, okay, you know, if you want to do that, okay, more power to you. You want to become, you know, what Martin say, your name Tank, and you want to be Tina, and you want to wear little tankies, go for it. You know what I mean? That's all. That's on you. That's all you. Who am I? I don't gotta live your life. But you gotta acknowledge that you have certain advantages that women don't. You know, physical advantages. You have to acknowledge that you have certain physical advantages that women don't have. You know, like for example, this Leah Thomas. Dude, you're tall, you're broad shoulders, you got lung capacity, you got muscles that these women don't have, right? And they try to say that he took 8th place in the 500. Was that what it was? Hold on, let me see. 8th place finish in the 100s. Sorry, excuse me. You know what I mean? Anyway, so let's go over to this next story before we get out of here. This is from Sports Illustrated. Leah Thomas wraps collegiate career with 8th place finish in the 100 at NCAAs. Okay. Penn swimmer Leah Thomas finished 8th in the 100-yard freestyle final Saturday at the NCAA championship, wrapping her collegiate career. Virginia freshman Gretchen Walsh won the title, 40.05 seconds for her first individual NCAA, while Thomas finished 48.18 seconds. Early in the championships, Thomas became the first known transgender athlete to win a Division I national championship after winning the 500 freestyle final. She later tied for 5th in Saturday's 200-yard final. Thomas has followed the NCAA Ivy League rules since she began her transition in 2019, stating about starting hormone replacement therapy. All right. How much you want to bet Leah Thomas sandbagged that race? How much you want to bet Leah Thomas sandbagged that race? Also, if anybody want to call in, you can still call in. Numbers in the description. But how much you want to bet that Leah sandbagged that race? You know what I mean? You know, while not taking anything from Gretchen Walsh. You know, I'm sure she swam her ass off. You know what I mean? But you know, how much you want to bet, and whoever else came in before him, you know, how much you want to bet he sandbagged that race to make it look like he could be beat? You know, to try to take some of the heat off of him, not dominate the entire competition. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he let them beat her. That's just my opinion, you know. DeMars Burton, at first I was upset about it, but after listening to Amazing Lucas and Eric July, I agree. Women brought this on themselves. I mean, like I was saying, you know, they march for women equal rights, equal equality, equal this, equal that, you know, then, you know, you vote for, you know, transgenders to be able to use the bathroom with you. You vote for, you know, all these incremental laws, you know, that's geared for transgender women, and now they done overtook you. Now you, as a biological woman, you can't speak out against the unfairness. You can't speak out against the injustice, you know, between you and the transgender women, because in fear of being canceled or fired or whatever, they're now the protected class, you know, and you can't say nothing about it. I mean, Amazing Lucas and Eric July in some aspects are right. Y'all voted for this shit. CC, in 10,000 years, when Leah's bones are dug up by the archaeologists, they will identify him, her as a man. That's just how it works. Actual science. Facts. That's what Bailey was saying on our live stream on Monday. And if you haven't watched that live stream, go check that out. It was a fire conversation between me and Bailey. And if you ain't following her, go follow her on Twitter. You know, Kamar Daniel, what's up? Definitely tanked it. I'm telling you, I think he sandbagged that race, bro. You know what I mean? Protocol, what's up, bro? Absolutely sandbag. You know what I mean? Kayak dog, 100% sandbag. Emmanuel Presley, could you imagine if you went to your daughter's swim meet and saw a 6'4" Leah with a beard and a bulge? 22 is wild. Before he switched over, he was a bum, but he definitely lost on purpose. I believe it. You know what I mean? You know, yeah, I think he sandbagged that race. But, you know, his collegiate career is over. Now, do you think that, you know, he'll go to try to compete in the Olympics? Because New Zealand let a woman compete in, a biological male compete in the Olympic weightlifting portion of the Olympics. Not only did New Zealand do it, the national, what is it? The whatever the fuck it's called, the Olympic Committee allowed it. You know what I mean? So I'll be interested to see if, you know, if Leah Thomas will be competing in the Olympics as a woman. That'll be interesting, you know. Even though the Olympics is another 4 years away or something like that. And I guess if this, you know, Leah stays on her hormone suppressing drugs, it still won't matter. She'll still have more testosterone in her body than any of the women that they'll compete with. You know what I mean? What they'll cap for. Kayak dog. All those women crying into their pink pussy hats, watching the men take the scholarships from them. Facts. The broccoli, what's up, yo? Where you been? I've had people say there's zero harm for them competing. Yeah, okay, go tell that to the girl who got her face broke by a Fallon Fox. You know what I mean? That there's zero harm in it. You know, how about self-esteem? You know, you don't think those girls' self-esteem is broken? You know, especially if this shit continues and more transgender females start to come in. You know, y'all saw a little Boosie video. Let me see if I can't find that shit. Little Boosie went off. You know what I mean? Let me see if I can't find it real quick before we get out of here. Let me see, hold on. Yeah, I think I got it right here. All right, let's check this out. Boosie on it, yo. Boosie was like, yo, you see what I said? You see what I said? Big said, salute. The simple way to know its advantages. You don't see the former women trying to compete against men. Facts. On a high level, there are no additives they can take to give them a chance. That's 100% facts.
Sports really.
Because niggas think motherfuckers think money. Kids raising their churn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, he ain't lying though, yo. Niggas is gonna fucking hack that. They gonna be like, hey, yo. They gonna have their son on creatine. That motherfucker gonna be in the gym as soon as he old enough. He gonna be fucking doing agility drills, and then right when it's time, they gonna fucking transition their son just so they can get $1 million contract and get that cash. They gonna be like, fuck it. As long as we getting this deal.
Fuck out the pool, man. Get your ass out the pool, man. Real shit. You cheat.
Oh my God, yo. Yo said, get your ass out the pool, man. Get out the pool, man. You cheated. But I mean, he ain't telling no lies, yo. He ain't telling no lies, yo. Yo, that nigga got me tripping, yo. Boosie is hilarious, yo. Oh my gosh. Oh man. I just wanted to end with that, yo. That shit is hilarious. The broccoli. This is true. If parents will let their teens take steroids, they'll let them put on a wig. That is facts. Oh man. Anyway. Guys, don't lose. Monique. What up, Monique? He's spitting facts. Leah looking for the same deal Buttigieg got. Corporate or government gig. You already know. But look, guys, don't let these bread and circuses like this whole Leah thing and the Supreme Court confirmation hearing, don't let it take all of your attention. Be mindful of what's going on around the world right now. Be mindful that, you know, Russia and China are ready to fucking form the Wonder Twins and start fucking up shit, fucking double dragon style. You know what I mean? Be mindful of that. Be mindful that we once these reserves run out for oil, gas prices is going back up. Be mindful that there's a food shortage right now. You know what I mean? Be mindful of that. But anyway, it is 10 o'clock and I'm getting ready to get off of here. So this can of Hotep saying, stay safe, stay well, and stay strapped. Watch out for the Adam's apple. I'll holla at y'all.